and we will begin shortly. What just happened a while ago was like a break. So that wasn't a session, that was really for the children, and now they're out, and now we'll start our third session. All right? Oh, when can go on somewhere if you want? Yeah. No. So tell it. If you want to go to a different room, you take it. Okay, so welcome back. We'll now be hearing from Dr. Michelle Ann Rhoden. She'll be presenting to us about finding the beauty in nature, fostering creative expression, play, and connections with nature in the inclusive environment. She's online, so put your hands together and make her welcome.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon. It's definitely a pleasure to be here with you. And after that play break, we would call it, right? You would definitely have a good idea of when we talk about play, what we're talking about. So I'm gonna go right ahead. I'm gonna introduce myself. And then go into the session. And I'm hoping everyone is hearing me, right? Am I clear with everyone? Everyone seeing me clearly? Can someone that is one of the tech persons just make sure that just give me a thumbs up or confirm that everyone is
Yes.
hearing
Yes,
me
we're
before
hearing.
I continue. Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to first introduce myself and then we're going to get right into it. I was told that, of course, it's a big room wide audience and I'm able to see a little bit of that, but I really like to, as I present, that we present together and there's an interactive session. That's kind of my style of presenting. So I'm hoping to provide some opportunities for that as we go through this afternoon session. So my name is Dr. Michelle Ann Rhoden Nita. I am a Jamaican, as you hear the accent. The accent is still here and I'm keeping it alive. Um, I did my bachelor's at University of the West Indies, Mona, a lot of years ago, and then I did my in psychology and did my master's in social work in Miami, Florida, and then I did my PhD in social welfare at Florida International University in Miami, and I'm currently an assistant professor at University of Illinois, Chicago. So that's actually where I'm located. But hence I'm traveling now, so I'm a little bit out of my space because I'm traveling. But hopefully that doesn't take us too much off the presentation. I'm also a registered play therapist here in the United States. And what that is, it's a body of mental health professionals that use the modality or the therapeutic powers of play to address mental health issues and behavioral problems that individuals have. We primarily work with children and families, or I primarily work with children and families, but play as a therapy or as a modality can be applied to anyone. Right. I'm also a provider for trauma-informed, trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy and a certified grief counselor. I do have a private practice that works with children and families exposed to traumatic experiences, whether it is in the home or in the community, specifically violence. So that's kind of a big general gist. I do research projects too, and mainly my research trajectory focuses on strengths-based and trauma-informed care services for youth exposed to violence and helping professionals. So how do we support those helping professionals who work with individuals with mental health issues? Because a lot of times those individuals, those helping individuals, are also exposed to vicarious, what we call vicarious trauma, just by hearing stories. So how do we support them, their well-being, as they provide quality service to youth exposed to violence? So that's a little gist of who I am. I was tasked for this PDI to focus on fostering creative expressions, play, and connections with the natural world in inclusive environments. And how do we facilitate or encourage exploration, imaginary play, and sensory experiences as we work with children, as we serve children in the different capacities that you are in. I put together a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if you were able to have access to that ahead of time, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just to share the learning objectives, what we hope to accomplish this session. And then I have a quick interactive activity that I want us to do, and I'm hoping that it works, right? Because sometimes technology fails us. But let me go ahead and share my screen so we can go through the objectives and then we'll go back. So this session is titled Finding the Beauty in Nature and Fostering Creative Expressions, Play, and Connections with Nature in Inclusive Environments. And what we hope to accomplish in our time together is to describe what nature play is, right, or nature-based play, and what are kind of those two main categories. There are a lot out there, but when we talk about the two general categories, what those are, what are some of those major benefits? Why do we want to encourage this, right? Why is it important for children and adults, right, to also engage in this? And what are some of the challenges that presents itself in this modern world, in where we are right now, that can hinder or cause some type of limitations in really truly engaging in nature-based play. And then I want to give some examples and talk about some nature-based type of activities that can be used, and then provide an opportunity where, depending on however time we have left, 10 or so minutes that you could just think of something in your own space, wherever you are, whether you're a parent or a professional, and how would you incorporate, or even an administrator, whether it's in terms of policy, like what can you do as an administrator, a parent, or actual professional directly servicing youth, whether it's teacher or guidance counselor, or a school counselor, or a mental health professional that works with children, how you can foster, give just one example of how you would apply this and something that you're able to do maybe in the next 2 weeks, right? And that's just kind of to help application of the material. So I wanted to share, so I have this quick interactive uh, uh, activities. So just before we go into me formally going to describing what this is, I want to hear from you, right? So if you have your phones, if you have access to your phones, I believe I was told you should have access to Wi-Fi, or if you have a data plan, and if you're able to go on menti.com, the link is right here. The website, so menti.com, and they're going to ask you for this code, and then you should be able to see this when you go in there, and I want you to type in, it should give you an opportunity to type in, I want you to give me a word or two, just based on your knowledge, based on your experience, based on your background, as to describe what nature play or nature-based play is to you. Like, what do you understand it to be? Describe what it is, probably give an example or two. I think you have multiple opportunities to give responses. So if you could do that for me right now, you can start. Just go to Menti, MEN, going to open up your internet browser and type in menti.com. It's going to ask you for this code, and then you can start typing your responses. I believe I have a facilitator, right, for this session, or a moderator?
Yes, you do, but you need to move to the next slide. We're still seeing the learning objectives.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, all right, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. All right, are you seeing?
Yes, we are.
Okay, wonderful. So Menti.com. Right, okay. Let me know if you have any issues, because I know, again, sometimes technology fails us. So if we have a backup, if this doesn't work, then I'll just ask for some responses from the audience. All right, wonderful. Responses are coming in. Good. All right, wonderful. So it's working. I'm happy about that. Get more. Wonderful. So I'm seeing natural, creative, using natural resources outside. As I said, I believe you can do more than one responses. Able to get a few more responses. Moderator, let me know if people are having difficulties kind of connecting, or.
I'm seeing persons typing on their phones and
Okay.
just waiting a bit.
Okay, so I'll just give them a few more minutes. Yeah. Yes, unstructured, soothing, plain. Break down the word plain for me. If you know the person who put plain, break that down for us. When you say plain, what does that mean for you? Dirt. I'm getting some good responses here.
The person who said playing, she wanted more response. Who wrote that?
I was saying just break that down. Put another word. When you say plain, what does that mean? Because we're using the same. Being physical, using trees, water. Very good. Getting some good responses. Let me get a few more before we move on. Grass, yes, the use of the senses, soothing, wonderful, wonderful. Playing with nature, imagination, wonderful. Being physical. All right, let me see if I get two more responses before we move on. Wonderful, I'm getting really good responses. You could probably definitely help me with this session. Relaxing.
Someone said smelling.
Smelling, use right as a part of using the senses, smelling, weather. All right, wonderful. Sand. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Child led. Wonderful, wonderful. Uh, so outside playing physical stones, magical feeling, creative grass, adventure, exploring. Wonderful. These are really, really good words that you would use to describe playing nature-based play. Are you seeing my screen now? You can keep putting it in the responses if you so feel inclined. Are you seeing now back? Are you seeing back my screen, my learning objective screens?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. All right. So, yes. So, when we talk about nature based play or nature play, is using the elements of nature, right? And we all know some of the elements of nature as you described there. And there are five main elements, and a lot of everything else kind of comes from these elements, right? There is the water, and water we have beaches, rain, all of that. Then there's actual earth where the trees and insects and animals live, and there are valleys and mountains and stones and all of that. And then there is fire, which we don't necessarily use as much when we talk about nature-based play or in this context. And then there is space. And when we talk about space in this context, we're talking about kind of movements, like where you are in space, like how do you feel yourself, right? And then there is air, and I'm hoping that this plays. Did everybody hear that?
We're, we're not hearing it.
You didn't hear that. Mm-mm-mm. There was a video I just played. Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on. I was hoping that that would play, but there's that video that I had embedded in the slide, and that was is describing air. So if you should take a deep breath, right, the air that we breathe, the wind, the breeze, we call it breeze. That is also a part of nature when we talk about the elements of nature. So when we talk, just broadly speak, when we talk about nature-based play, or nature play, we're talking about any one of these elements that are being used in actual play, right? And some of you gave some examples in the slide before. There are plants, flowers, and of course, this list is definitely not exhaustive. These are just examples, right? That you'd use when you're engaging or playing with children, flowers, and we use it with ourselves too, right? So plants, flowers, trees, breathing, moving, running, different types of animals, insects, bugs, mountains, valleys, beaches. Of course, we're all known for our beaches, so that can be used as part of that. Rocks, stones, sand, the clouds, right? The stones, sticks, and mud. So anything that would include any type of nature element could be classified as nature-based play. Now, when we talk about play itself, you can think about play in two main categories, right? And we do this when we're doing therapeutic play too, but right now it's kind of, we're just talking about general play. We're not talking necessarily about the therapeutic part of it. So when we talk about play, it's two main categories. There is that structured play where children, and since we're talking about children specifically, children are given specific instructions and there are rules to follow, right? It's generally adult led. It is still a natural expression of children and it can be done indoors and outdoors. But the part that makes it a little different from the unstructured is the adult led and the instruction. So you may give them a specific instruction, say for example, draw how you felt today, like that's just a general example, and they were given a specific instruction. So it's more directive, that we call that. And then there is the unstructured play, which is more free play. We call that more non-directive play, child-led. So it's a lot more spontaneous. It's a lot more, if you want to foster creativity, imagination, that generally falls under child-led, unstructured type of play. There's a place for both. There is a place for both. And a lot of times when we engage and engage in play activities with children or with youth, we generally combine both, right? And I have here a simple definition that I got off the internet of just what general play is. But bear in mind what I mentioned earlier about the structured and the unstructured. So play should be voluntary, right? So children should see it as something that they agree to participate in, not something that is forced, because a lot of times when children don't feel a sense of empowerment or they feel too much control, that it doesn't become fun anymore, right? Play is supposed to be fun and pleasurable. There's supposed to be some flexibility, not as strict and stringent when you're doing play. And it engages a combination of different things. Your body, it could be an object, a symbol use, and relationships. And I want to stress relationships because that is one of the main benefits of play, right? It is building and engaging and helping individuals with co-regulation, forming that bond. Individuals trust you, you trust them, and that's what children needs. That if you notice what I have here, play can be indoors and outdoors, including nature-based play, because you can bring in elements of nature that was just described in the previous screen inside the classroom and use those as different activities, right? Or you can even be outdoors and it can still be structured where you give them instructions. And I'm going to give you, as we go through the presentation, some examples of nature-based play activities that can be done. But for this presentation, and I believe this is what ECC wanted to kind of highlight and portray, is those structured and unstructured play activities that is done outdoors, right? So as I'm speaking, I'm going to really be referring to those that are going to be, that you do outdoors. Yes, you can bring nature-based activities and nature-based play indoors, but just for the purposes of this presentation, we're focused on the ones done outdoors, right? As I mentioned, just kind of reiterating, those that are done outdoors can be structured as well as it can be unstructured, or it can be a combination of both. There should be a level of voluntary, meaning that children feel a sense of empowerment and that there are choices and options as part of the play. It should be pleasurable, right? They should be using their body. You can also use different objects as part of the play, right? As one of the examples I'm going to give later, you can have them be outside, and you can have them paint nature, right? That's an object that you would use. They're sitting outside under the tree or on a bench or whatever the case may be, and you can have them just look outside, just look at their scene, what they're looking at, and paint something that resonates, or draw something that maybe resonates with how they're feeling and how they're doing at that particular time. So that is the use of objects, right, as part of that play. And then there is that relationship component, right? So they are building trust and bond with you. They're seeing you as someone that is safe. You are building that with them. And then that is where they create and develop. No, you're making comments about their art, for example, or their play that would foster freedom, that would foster them to express themselves. And so they're building self-esteem, self-worth, self-value. They're feeling comfortable in who they are, their identity, and all of that. So that is a big part of that. So again, for the most part, we're going to be focusing on all those things, or give examples of those things, but done in the outdoors. What we're not going to be looking at are those what we would call educational type of activities or sports activities that could be considered play, but it's more structured outside. So we're not looking at the soccer or the baseball. So yes, you're outside, you're enjoying the elements of nature, the air, maybe the dirt, the grass, whatever the case may be, but we're not focusing on those type of educational play structured programs. So not baseball, the soccer, football, dandy shandy, none of that stuff, right? As we're talking about this presentation, that's not the focus. So we started talking a little bit about this, right, in terms of the benefits, right? So the benefits I have here fall in three main categories. So benefits in terms of health and well-being, benefits in terms of the earth itself, right? Because we know about global warming and what's going on with our earth. So the earth benefits from children playing and enjoying the earth, right? And also benefits as it relates to academic benefits. So it is really a win-win situation when youth engage in nature-based play. And I would dare to say when adults do it too, right? Like for me, walking outside and jogging outside does so much more to me than being on the treadmill. Like you're on the treadmill and you're walking, and yes, you're maybe working off the calories or the pounds or whatever your heart is beating, but it does something to me when I'm outside. Sometimes I'm indoors and I'm like, I just have to go outside. I have to have a fresh air. I have to breathe fresh air, right? It does something to me when I see grass and trees. I mentioned earlier that I am currently living in Illinois area, which is very different climate from what I was before in Florida. It's a lot more colder, of course, and there's a lot more gloomy and cloudy days. And that does something to me. Sometimes I look out the window, I'm like, man, it's so dark outside, it's so gloomy. And that impacts your moods. I'm not even outside, but just looking outside the window, right, does something to your health and well-being. So as I'm talking and talking about children, which is where we want them to start appreciating. So as they get older, it continues. But I would dare to say that you think about yourself too, and some of the ways that you engage in nature, right? I mentioned earlier too that a big part of the work that I do is work on youth that has been exposed to trauma and violence, but also those helping professionals, and you're helping professionals. So if you are not well in terms of emotion and mental and physical, it can be very challenging working with youth. So even as you engage in facilitating and fostering nature-based play, with the children that you work with, the youth that you work with, also you take advantage of it, right? You take advantage of how that nature can also build your health and well-being. So I got these some infographics from childrenandnature.org that has really, really good resources. And if you notice, if you go through my slides, I have the source of links that I got a lot of this information from. And you can go on it yourself and kind of explore if you desire to kind of read a lot more and know a lot more about nature-based play. So it is healthy for mothers, right? Promote health for children from birth. So even before children are born, which I know ECC promotes this, that healthy children doesn't just happen after birth, right? It starts happening from the child is in the womb, right? So even as being a pregnant mother or being outside in nature already helps the child to develop in a healthy baby, right? So you taking care of your health as a mother, being outside and breathing the fresh air also helps the child already to form a good way of growth, right? So research shows that mothers who spend a lot of time in nature, the fetal growth grows better, there's more healthy growth, there's better weight, right? There's better a mental health for the mother, and so that in that kind of feeds down to the fetus, so the fetus may be a lot easier to soothe, a lot easier to engage and work with. And then now they're born and they're able to engage in outside on their own. And so it helps with vitamin D. A lot of times people who are in the north, not like tropical countries like Jamaica or Florida, but people that spend a lot of time indoors tend to be short vitamin D, which is very helpful in terms of skin growth and bone and all of that, right? It helps with the healthy eyes, how the bright sunshine can help promote those things, reduce nearsightedness. Research has shown increase vitamin D levels, which is good for overall physical development. And what I was a pause here to say, a lot of us don't didn't know this, but we notice as we grow or over time. It is important when individuals spend time outside to use sunscreen, right? So it's important that we encourage our youth and even ourselves as we venture outside, whether it is a facial sunscreen or if we're going to spend any excessive amount of time outside, to ensure that the youth and ourselves wear sunscreen. It also helps to increase physical activity, right? So being in green spaces, being in parks, being able to move, being able to jump, being able to skip, being able to run helps reduce the risk of obesity, which we know is linked to several chronic illnesses, from diabetes to high blood pressure to heart problems, all of that. So there is a physical component or physical benefit to being outside. Children are better able to cope with stress when they're near trees, when there are other greeneries that they're enjoying. And then this is also the big one, right? So social emotional well-being. So learning in nature, being outside, engaging in nature, learning with others, engaging outside with others, as you see some of the pictures here, helps improve relationship skills. So how we deal with anger, how we deal with stress, how we how we deal with sadness. A lot of times we talk about that. Help with the outside can help with that, right? Because it does something to the physical body to help deals with that. And then if you're working with that relationship piece that I mentioned earlier, as individuals are outside, as the helping professional, the teacher, administrator, or the person working with the youth, or the parent, you can help develop these things as you talk to youth, as you engage them, as you encourage them to work together, as well as to work with nature, right? And then nature-based play also helps with academic outcomes, right? So even during the day when a child is in the classroom, giving them some time to go outside, right? Giving them breaks, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes break, just to move, just to go out and smell the air, can help with better academic performance. So research has shown that it helps to boost performance in reading, math, science, and social studies. Of course, it depends on sometimes the type of play that you engage in when you're doing outside. It helps with critical thinking. It definitely helps you think better being outside. You have a clearer mind, right? See nature from school buildings can also help to foster academic success. I mentioned earlier, sometimes I'm outdoors inside, and just looking outside gives me like a clearer way of thinking. It enhances attention. Spending time in the nature can help children focus their attention, right? The greener the setting, the more better the child is able to focus. Again, these are some research that has been done that have shown this. It increases children engagement and enthusiasm for academic material. So exploration and discovery through outdoors experiences can promote motivation to learning. So if you are learning, if you're teaching a lesson, whether it's science or math, and you can include a nature activity to it, where the child can go outside and, say for example, count the sticks, right? Or how many sticks can they find, and they put it in a bag. And so there's that hands-on benefit that happens, and that can be enhanced. And again, it makes it more fun, right? Improve behavior, help them with more impulse control, being less disruptive. Just giving children time to exert that extra energy that they have can do wonders when they actually come back into the classroom and sit for learning. The earth benefits, right? So while there are all these benefits for children, the earth also benefits. So there's this saying that children need nature and nature needs children, right? So when we start from early, helping our kids to appreciate nature, appreciate water, appreciate earth, appreciate the different elements of nature, the idea is, and research has shown, that they'll take care of it, right? They understand that this is something that is a part of life, and they like it, so they want it to last, and so it spending time will help them to gain a better appreciation and want to care for it. So you provide fun, hands-on nature experiences. Those things help kids to appreciate outside and then want to take care of it. Taking learning outside help kids note three good things in nature every day to improve their connection to nature. So these are just some examples that you can use to help children appreciate the earth. Share your love for outdoors with the children. So kind of talk about how you also, and then repeat all these things continually. So being time in nature helps to improve, I said, social skills, pro environment behaviors, enhance health, increase self-esteem, improve grades, stronger emotional connection to people as well as nature. So there are benefits all around. And again, just to stick a pin, we know that our earth is in problem, right? When we come on to coral reefs, the amount of natural disasters that we're seeing a lot more frequent, it's all because of the erosion and global warming and all that, because of we're not taking care of the earth. So if we can develop a next generation, and as they appreciate the earth, they'll take more care, right? So they'll recycle more. They'll use things that are recyclable material, rather than things that pollute the earth or pollute the beaches and the seas, right? Instead of killing off our coral reefs and things that our fishes need to survive, so then we can eat them, right? Instead of polluting the sea and the ocean and just not appreciating the earth, throwing garbage on the floor and not caring that a chip bag or a bag juice bag, throwing it on the floor, it's not going to decompose, it's going to stay there and cause issues to the earth. Like stuff like that, starting from early helps children to develop that. Again, I have resources there. So I have another question. Right, so we've talked about what nature-based play is. We've talked about some of the benefits of it. Now I want to talk about what are some of the challenges or limitations that we have? What are some of the difficulties that we may experience to engage children in nature-based play? And so if you go back to your Menti .com, there should be another question, and I have it in rank order, right? So you can select based on what you think, because all of these are some challenges. Which one you think are like your priority challenges? So which one are like the first main problem you experience, right? Having children engage in nature-based play. And I'm going to go in and explain what these are. So urbanization, what that is a lot of buildings are going up and tearing down green spaces, right? I was looking at a lot of the pictures of schools in Jamaica, and I'm recalling and going back to even my school, especially my primary school back in the days. There wasn't a lot of green spaces outside, right? There wasn't a lot of trees. There were more concrete spaces. And so as we populate, right, and you can go ahead and put in your responses as I explain what these are. As we populate and as we grow, there are more need for housing and more need for buildings, and so you find that they're going into these nature spaces. So forests, trees, those things are being torn down to build houses, to build businesses, right? There's also the problem of parent and teacher fears, right? So sometimes we hold back our children. So there is where we may be fearful of them getting hurt, right? Which is a reasonable concern, but not one that should necessarily hinder a child from engaging in nature-based play. It's just again how you do it, right? There's also the risk of, I remember back in the days, growing up, we would play on the street. We would be outside playing on the street. Me and my neighbors, we'll play dandy shandy or bass. We'll identify different things in the community that are based, and we'll throw the ball, hit it, and try to catch, go to each base. And those things are not as promoted anymore because of the fear of violence, right? Fear of our children getting abducted and kidnapped and being really, really harmed and hurt. So there are those fears. There are those liability worries, right? Sometimes teachers, like, if I should have children engage in certain activities, the parents are gonna hold me accountable if something should happen. So, because there are times when children may be allergic to some things. There are children that can be allergic to grass, right? So there are sometimes those liability issues that could be concerning. And then when we talk about plugged in play, we're talking about technology. Technology is really taking our children away from nature-based play. They sit on the computer, sit on their phone, sit on these games, and they'll play for hours and hours and hours. If you notice a young person now, their head is always in their phone or on their computer, right? So they're not engaging as much outdoors when there was not as much technology that was as accessible as they are right now. Because I remember, I mean, we didn't have phones growing up in my time. I'm probably aging myself now, but we didn't have phones growing up. And I remember computers coming in just before I was finishing high school. And so a lot of the times we played outside. We played outside. We had no choice but to play outside. But now our children has a lot of options, and so they tend to choose playing more inside, being plugged into the game, being plugged into the computer and the phone, being on social media, that takes them away from nature-based activities. And then there are overscheduled childhoods, right? So sometimes we have our children in so many different activities that they are not even able to enjoy nature. Sometimes children are involved in, no, I love church. Church is like, it's a good thing. But sometimes they're involved in so much different things that every single day they're engaging in something else. Whether it is from dance to sports to, they're just engaging in different things, And so music, sometimes because we want them to do well in school, we have them in a lot of extra classes, a lot of after school classes. There's sometimes a lot of homework, right, that takes away from the child engaging in outdoor play, right? And then there are limited activities, like they're not sure what to do outside. And I see that as one of the first priorities that most of you are saying that we have problems with, right? So because the space, we have very limited green spaces, and children and adults, we don't not sure what to do. Like what do we do outside? Like how do we enjoy nature? How do we enjoy outside? What can we do to enjoy outside? And sometimes kids just don't know, right? Because they were not practiced, or they were not taught. And so let me just go through really quickly the responses that I have here. So I see the first challenge that most of you think is, or experience, is the limited activities, right? Not showing what to do outside. Then there's that plugged in, that there's that technology piece, right? And then there is that fear, right, of child not being safe, being kidnapped, being hurt, right? And so we don't let them go outside. Stay inside, right? That's what we say as parents and teachers. We stay inside. And that there, that urbanization is that fourth one. There, that liability worries, and then the sixth is the overscheduled childhood. Thank you so much again for participating in that. So those are some of our main challenges, right? Is there any other ones? Did my slide change? Tech person that is helping me, did my facilitator?
Yes, you're at
It
other
did.
challenges.
All right, wonderful. So are there any other challenges that you can think of? That may, I have a few here. Sometimes it's time, right? Sometimes parents are working, more than one jobs, or you have tons of other responsibilities. You're cleaning, you're cooking, you're this, you're that. So there's not necessarily time to say, let me engage with play with you outside, right? And then sometimes there are just limited resources and money, right? In terms of, and even though nature tent is free, and that's where the limited activities not just does not sure what to do, but because of those limited resources and money, maybe we're not able to, because the parents have limited resources and money, that kind of feeds into the limited time. So that all kind of go together. Is there maybe my moderator can help me with this? Anyone from the audience can give me any other challenge that were not listed in this slide or in the previous slide that you have encountered in terms of engaging in nature-based play or nature activities, nature play? Anybody in the audience? I can take two or three.
Pollution.
Sorry, say that.
Pollution.
Pollution, and that kind of falls under the fear, right? That kind of falls
Yes.
under the fear. So I remembered a few years ago visiting Jamaica. I haven't visited in 2 years, which is, I really want to go back hopefully sometime this year. But I was in, my parents live in Pembroke, and there is the burning, it's, where is it again, is it Riverton? Riverton. They were burning garbage, and the smoke that was outside was so thick that we had to stay inside. So that is a real issue, right? So the pollution sometimes that some communities experience, right, make you don't want to go outside, make you want to stay inside. So thank you for that, for sure. Anybody else
Anybody else?
that we didn't list before?
Parents are stressed. I heard that.
Right, because of this over, they don't have the time, right? There's just a lot going on, whether it is emotionally, physically, a lot is happening. So they not have the time. They're trying to find ends meet, make ends meet. That's where the financial limited resources come in. And so it's like, you're busy doing other things and not enjoying nature. And that is so true. So those are some of the limitations and the challenges. Yes, and those are real limitations, those are real challenges. But the benefits of engaging nature, and I say but, is so great, right? That we have to find opportunities. Now, as I said before, our main focus here is outdoors, right? But if you can bring, so maybe for another workshop, if you can bring some of the nature indoors, right, and help the youth engage in activities, that is also another way of maybe overcoming some of those pollution challenges, right? There are times that children don't necessarily need to engage in the play with you, but you can allow them time to play on their own and encourage them to go outside and play, right? Sometimes us as parents, we need to put more limits on those technology that we have our children engaging in. So putting limits in terms of time, right? Okay, you can only play with this for an hour, for 30 minutes, but then after that you will have to put it down, right? So then they have to find things outside to do, right? And then of course, as I mentioned, there's also those safety issues, right? So be when children play, making sure that children are supervised, right, are some of those. So there are things that we can use to overcome some of these challenges. But yes, it's going to take some intention from the parents and the teachers, and just some what I would say, some strategies, so to speak. But it is important that we do encourage it, because it has so much benefit, so much greater benefit. And even for us too, that all the other things we will probably do better with the other things when we engage more in nature-based play. So I have a few ideas here. And I put two pictures here of my children engaging in nature-based play. So this is both of them are, one is for my son and one is for my daughter. I have twins, a girl and a boy. And they went outside, and they found just different things on the ground. I should have made it bigger, but I wanted to kind of minimize the number of slides. But if you notice, they have dried leaves, they have some acorn that was dried up, they have some sticks, some grass, and they actually went outside, picked those things up. Of course, this was more structured because it was structured and unstructured, because we have them pick up whatever they wanted to pick up. But then the structured part is when they came inside, then we engage in this painting activity. So we had them put, paint on the paper, put paint on paper, and then put their nature their nature elements or things that they picked up from nature, just stick that on. And it was so fun and exploratory for them, because they were able to engage all their senses. Like, if you notice, all of these are different type of textures, right? And then even them putting the paint and then putting, and it's, you get that messiness and that able to exploration type of piece, and kind of the imagination. Like, like after you do something like this, you could ask them, what did you create? Tell us what it is, how describe it, right? So that's also the relationship piece. After you engage in some activity with them, have them talk about it, have them describe it, have them talk about what it smells like, what it feels like, how was it for them, and then you engage them with that. So I wanted to give that just quick example of something that we've done with my 2-year-olds, and as young as 2, right? So it doesn't have to be older kids. You can start as young as 2, as young as they're able to. I mean, I had my kids even before them walking, just going outside and sitting in the grass and feeling the grass, just feeling the grass on their hand, like, and smelling flowers. All of that is engaging them in nature. And they couldn't walk yet, right? But they were outside, and you walk with your kids outside. So you can start as young as possible. But when you want to engage, as I mentioned, I showed you a little bit earlier where the mother was pregnant, right? I was engaging in nature. But in terms of them, you can start again, as I said before, as young as possible. But in terms of more structured activity, you want to think about 2 years old and up. That's when they're really able to engage in a lot more structured, so to speak, activities. You can start a little younger, but the ideal is two. So here I have about um, six, uh, six examples. And I know my session, I'm sorry, stick up in here. My session ended at 3, but I know we started late. So is there a new time that I have up until? It's 3. Sorry, it's I'm at a different time zone. I know I had an hour, but I started a little late. So what time should I end? Do I have a time to end? Can somebody, my moderator, help me? What time should I end?
Yes, 1 minute. You'll have an additional 15 minutes.
Okay, all right. So I have 5 minutes then because I'm already over 10.
Okay.
I'm already over my time, 10 minutes. All right. So nature, so painting nature. While outdoors, ask children to paint or draw an element of nature. And this is something very simple, right? And remember, elements of nature is anything. It could be trees, it could be rocks. So they don't necessarily have to have green spaces because I know some of our schools may be short of green spaces. It could be the clouds, it could be the sky. So have them draw. It could be something that they envision or they want to see, or it could be something that they're seeing, right? But the fact that they're outside, engaging in some type of painting of nature also brings about some of those benefits that we talked about. Nature treasure hunt combined with painting with nature, which is similar to what I did with our kids, right? So you collect elements of nature while outdoors and then use those elements to create a picture, right? Or have them envision a picture, and then you engage them in talking about it and describing it, what it felt like when they were actually doing the activity, what it feels like now that they're finished. So kind of engage in that social emotional well-being aspect as they're participating in this. I spy in nature, so you can just walk with children outside and I spy a big stone. I do that a lot with my kids, right? I spy a puddle of water, and you have them point on it. I spy a red bird, right? Or I spy whatever it is. I spy a lizard. I spy an ant. I spy a whatever thing of nature outside. You can have them point on it and find that. And then there is nature scavenger hunt. We can give children a list of nature elements to find, to hear, to smell, or to do something specific with for an hour, 30 minutes, or whatever the case may be. And the first person, or this could be done in a team effort, the first person who completes or the first team that completes it wins a prize, right? So they can go out and you can say, smell a flower and describe what the flower smells like, or close your eyes and tell us what you hear about nature, not the tree, not the cars blowing their horns, or the bikes, or the buses passing by, but what in nature did you hear? And have them listen very attentively, and describe that, right? And the first person, say you give them a list of 10 things, and the first group or the first team that does the 10 things, you can incorporate them within a prize, just to, I guess, encourage element of participation. And then there is nature mindfulness, right? Again, if you don't necessarily have those green spaces, just having students or your children sit outside, stand outside for a specific time and just close their eyes and just breathe. Breathe in air. Air is nature, right? Or if they're not comfortable breathing or closing their eyes, have them focus on one aspect of nature and breathe. Take a few deep breaths, right? And talk about what it smells like, what outside sounds like, right? Or you can even engage them in planting vegetables or flowers or herbs. Sometimes you don't necessarily need, you can actually create your own green space, right? So maybe you're at a school or a location that doesn't have a green space, and you can have like a, you can get a section, ask them for a little plot of land or a plot of section, or you can actually build it, use wood and build it up and fill it with dirt, and have children plant stuff in it, or you can even have pots like containers and have them plant flowers or plant herbs and have it grow, and as they see it grow, have them, watch it, have them feel the satisfaction of like, I did that, I planted that, I see that grow, and kind of describe the different, the shapes of the flowers, what the flowers smell like, what it can be used for, the different colors, look at different stages as it blossoms from the seed all the way to actually a mature plant, or to, even the teenager part of it, like just before we reach a mature plant, but just use that and create your own type of nature space, right? And then we have, um, and then there's some other ideas that you can incorporate, right? So you can have them do journaling, right? Going outside and using nature to journal, describe what their day was like, or create a poem, using nature, being outdoors and doing that. You can have them incorporate some type of technology too, right, in the nature, right? So photographs, right? How many likes can you get if you take a picture of the sun, or take a picture of the rainbow, right? Or take a picture of something that is fascinated in nature. Sometimes we can capture some really fascinated elements, a bird picking up a worm, or like just there's some things in nature just you can just watch, and it just fascinates you, and have them take a picture and post it, see how many persons like their photographs, right? Or just have them do a collection of different nature photographs. So give them a homework assignment, and you can connect it again with some type of academic objective that you may have. There are also nature clubs. You can form nature clubs at schools, right? Where that creates. You can have trips to nature's areas. I remember when I was in high school, we actually walked. And now I'm forgetting it. It's somewhere in Harborview, but we it was geography. We were learning geography, and we actually walked. I think there was like this little area where the water dried up. I forgot what they called. I don't think it was a dam. But they actually had us walk it as a trip that we did for high school. But you can actually create nature clubs, and it can be as young as kindergarten. We have kindergarten here, but basic school, and that nature club can do different type of nature activities, whether it is outings, or interact with different nature elements, or trips, or just do things that fosters the use of nature play in your schools. And then you can have create special events, whether it's concerts or talent shows, using nature, right? Using insects and bugs and animals as lessons when they encounter these things. A lot of our youth may be afraid of lizards and different things, but how can we use those as lessons? And I already mentioned nature, and also movements and imaginary play and pretend play with nature, right? How can we have them just use just pretend play, imagine using nature, form a storyline, or be outside and use it as some type of drama activity, or just incorporating nature in what we do. I don't know. I know my time is gone. So I don't know if I have time for this. Moderator, do I have time for this, to have people do like a 10 minutes and maybe one or two persons share what they came up with?
Actually, the time is, we have a next session starting at
Okay, all right.
2:30.
All right, so sorry, my time is gone, but I wanted to do this where you create your own nature-based activity. So I was gonna have you take 10 minutes, think about your context, whether it is, and I have here a picture of a basic school, right? So whether it is our early childhood education center. So whether it's your context, the type of children that you work with, the age group, the resources that you have. So think about your own space. And then I was gonna have you just describe or talk about a nature-based activity based on what I've just outlined or discussed, that you could implement or you could use or that you have used if you have done so already in the next 2 weeks, and not something that you may need a lot of resources to do for another year or 6 months, but something that you could do in the next 2 weeks, and then think about what benefits this would have for you as the adult who is organizing this, as well as for the child that you're doing it for. So I wanted to do that. Not going to have time, but you can still do it on your own as a homework activity, I guess. And then, yeah.
Dr. Rhoden, you can continue.
You mean
You
I'm
can
wrapping up?
continue with your activity.
Oh, I have to. Okay,
Yes.
so I just describe it. So it's gonna take about another 15 minutes or 10 minutes for them to do it, or five, and then five for me to hear one or two responses. So do I have that time? I have about 15 minutes.
All right, so that is okay because after this session, we're finished for today. So we won't have
Oh,
another
okay,
session.
okay. All right, wonderful. All right, so that's awesome. So let me ask you to do that. I'm hoping you have a paper or a pen, or you may have your phones if you use your notepads on your phone or your notebook on your phone. Just think about where you are and your role, whether it is a administrator, parent, or a teacher, a guidance counselor, educational professional, right? Think about the children that you work with, your specific context, your school, your location, what you have resources, what do you have access to, and then I want you to design one nature-based play activity that you have done already. If you have done it already, then that's fine. Just kind of describe it when we talk, when I reach to the point of having people discuss it. Or if you haven't done so already, in the next 2 weeks, how could you engage the children that you work with in a outdoor, not indoors, an outdoor nature-based play activity, and what you think would be the benefits? Just two benefits, one for you and one for the child. The benefit for you, again, I gave a whole list of benefits in the slides earlier. The benefit for you as well as the benefit for the child to participate in this activity. So I'm giving you 5 to 10 minutes, real quickly. I'm going to stop sharing because then I want to hear from you, and just describe, think about your context. So take a few minutes first, think about the context that you work in, the youth that you work with, the resources that are available to you. Think about even some of those limitations, right? And what could you do, even considering those challenges, even considering or thinking about the youth that you're working with. What could you do as a nature-based? And again, I gave a whole list of different activities and examples, so you can even go back to some of those. Like, what could you practically implement in the next 2 weeks with your youth? So I'm giving you a few minutes to do that, and then I would love to hear a few responses. If we get 2 or 3, that would be really nice. Responses from the audience. So I'm giving you a few minutes to go ahead. A few minutes to go ahead and do that. I'm hoping you have paper or pen, or you can just think through it or type it on your phone or something. It's 2:23. No, so I'm giving you like another 3 minutes. And if that's not enough, then we can give you a little bit more time to think through your activity. Moderator, let me know when you kind of sense the room that people are done and ready to share. And I didn't get your name, moderator. I keep calling you moderator. Could I have your
Charoli.
name?
My name is Charoli.
Sharalee, okay. My apologies. I keep saying moderator. I should be calling it by your name. So, Shari, let me know when you kind of scan the room or people are ready to share, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Rhoden,
Yes.
we're ready with the responses.
All right, go ahead. Let me hear. I'm excited to hear some of the responses.
All right, afternoon, Dr. Rhoden.
Tell us your name and then you can go ahead.
I am Caroline Pennant, and I'm an early childhood practitioner.
Thank
And
you.
what popped into my head and what I would do with my kids when I go back within the next 2 weeks is that we would do a planting of herbs. So I would plant
Nice.
some rosemary and mint, and
Nice.
we would divide ourselves in two groups. So what we would get out of that activity, we could smell the herbs, and we'd also
Mm-hmm.
do a counting activity as well. So each group would get three. So it'd be three herbs. So
Ah,
they would plant it, and we have a nearby shop. So I would go over there and see if I could get some old oil jugs
nice.
that they use, and do that. So that we would go within the 2 weeks. So they could come in the morning and take turns. So we'd go
Mm-hmm.
in sequence. So 1, 2, 3, and they would take turns and water. And we'd also
Nice.
use the same pet bottles
Mm-hmm.
as our watering can. So
Mm-hmm.
that would take us
Wonderful.
within the 2 weeks. So we'd get everything coming out in the nature. We'd get the numeracy, we'd get the senses, all the five senses coming out as well. The smelling, they would listen to the sound, how many drips of water go on the plants. And we can also put some stones as well for those who can't maybe hold the bottle. They could place
Uh-huh.
some stones in the little jug,
Mm-hmm.
and they could feel the smoothness of the
Yep.
stones as well that they
Nice.
would put
And
around
the
in the
plants, they
plants,
can
and the
feel that the plants
plants
have
and the
different
plants
textures
and the
too,
different,
right?
and we bring out the shapes as well, the different shapes and the different colors of each herbs.
Exactly. Yep.
So
Yep.
that
Mm-hmm.
is my
And
idea
they would
going
also
forward.
appreciate that too, right? Because
Yes,
herbs that you talk about has medicinal value
yes it
for us.
does. Yes it does.
So, so appreciating that too. So that's a part of also taking care of the earth. If we take care of the earth and we're able to
Right,
do that, we
right,
get more health benefits.
and they would also learn to taking care of a plant, so they would have
Back,
that energy
go
and that
back to their homes
eagerness
and do it.
and see it, and they would want to come in the mornings to take turns to water their plants.
Yes. Nice, wonderful. I
Thank
love
you.
that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Doc.
Thinking about that.
Okay, there's another response.
Okay, Dr. Rhoden, I must commend you on this presentation. I mean, I was sitting up straight all afternoon, and you know, it's usually the time when you want to doze off, but it was really captivating. So I
Oh,
liked it.
thank you.
Yeah, because nature, is one of the areas in which when you're in the city life, sometimes the children don't get as much time out there.
Yeah.
So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
challenge now for us to be deliberate and intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But while you were talking, there are two things. I know for the 4-year-olds, they did
Tell us your
plant.
name
Oh,
and
sorry.
your role, if you don't mind.
Annette, Annette McNeish, and I am the both principal and teacher.
Oh,
So,
nice. Thank you.
right. So I the class 2, the 4-year-olds, they would plant the seeds. They planted some seeds in the cups with the tissue paper thing like that,
Mm.
and they add water to it. So when you said planting and thing, and I'm saying, but there's no soiling it. So if that was still okay, because you had the water and you had the seed and you could watch it grow, right?
Yep.
So if,
Water. You can
yes,
plant a lot in water. You can
water.
start off with planting with water and transfer
Right,
it in dirt if you want.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. And there's a little planter area where the class ones, they planted a pumpkin. So they're spreading out now, a pumpkin vine. But
Mm.
while you were speaking, I was thinking of what I could do with say the 5-year-olds, because and I'm thinking that there's a big tree in a parking lot next door, and more than one things could happen, because I'm thinking of putting like the chairs out there with a paper, giving them blank paper to see how they would draw their tree. What
Yep.
would it look like when they're finished? What they see, they'll be able to touch it also to put the little bumps and grits on it. So they would draw that, and then we would see how we can frame it to preserve it for them to take home for graduation, because we're planning a display, art display.
Right.
And
Nice.
also picking up leaves from there, whether it could be the dry leaves or other leaves, and doing the leaf print
It's
to
all
form a
nature.
pattern. Right, right, to form a pattern. And maybe to border it, you could either use like the tiny stones to form it, so you get a picture when you're finished with the
Yep. Yep.
artwork. But yeah, or sticks, like my
Right.
friend here said, that you could use it to form a border. But you get them touching, feeling, and
Sense.
creating
Yeah.
own creativity coming out in
That
it
age
as
group
well.
loves scavenger hunts too.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, that's true. Because when
You
they
give them
go
a
to
list of things to go
to go
find,
find, right,
do.
right,
Mm-hmm.
and they could do the artwork with it when it's
Yeah.
finished.
With whatever they find. Yep.
Right,
Yep.
right. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you very much for the challenge.
Thank you for sharing. One more person before we wrap up, if there is one more person.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing great ideas.
Okay, I work at the Foga Road Infant School in Maypen, Clarendon. I work at a school, but I'm not a teacher. And what I realized that the 5-year-old, they are doing some planting behind. And I heard the teacher said, don't come like the seed then now come up. So I said to her, I said, leave the hose round there and make the water. By the other week, she come back to see them come back up, and the children were happy to see that they are growing, and they always have club days on Fridays, and every time it's club days, different group always do nature, like they go around, they show them the trees, the name of the trees, the fruit trees, and how they grow and what it's all about. So I'm happy, and I realize that the children are learning, because even my child, she can name the trees that she
Mm-hmm.
learned, and every tree she sees, she point out and said, if it's mango, she said, Mommy, it's a mango tree there.
Mm-hmm.
And if she see almond, she said, Mommy, we have almond tree here too, and your school.
Yes.
So I said to her, I said, everywhere you go, the trees are there. Anywhere you go, they are the same, but they are everywhere.
Right,
So
right.
the
And even pulling, like having her touch the leaves of the tree and knowing the different shapes of those tree and the colors of the tree and just kind of engaging her more
yes,
five senses. But that is really awesome that that school already has some form of nature-based play incorporated into the
Yes.
curriculum of the school, where the kids are able to go out and look at those things. Because another thing that, sadly is what would say becoming obsolete is farming. And farming is such a huge part of nature that we can enjoy. And sometimes even carrying children to some farms can help
Yes.
them appreciate, and
Yes.
even them wanting to become, right, appreciate that a skill, or appreciate that profession, so to
Thank you
speak.
for
So
participating.
those, even carrying children to different farms, that can be trips don't have to be just Hope Zoo, or those bigger places, but trips can be just carrying them to a small farm, and they can see the pigs, they can see the horses, they can see the chickens, they can actually see the pig, the goat tie out in the on the tree, and just kind of learn about those, incorporating those in the academic aspect of the academic curriculum of children can be very interactive, engaging, and helpful. I'm so happy that you all gave us some of those. Let me share my screen again as I wrap up some of those examples. Those are really good examples, and very practical examples that can be implemented um, with with hold on. Are you seeing my slide? Am I back on my slide?
Yes, you are.
With considering even some of those challenges and limitations. So, as I wrap up, of course, being a Jamaican, I can wrap up without sharing some of the beauties of nature that is in Jamaica that we can take advantage of. Of course, there is the caves, there is the mountains and the clouds and the farms and so many animals and insects that we have in Jamaica. And I have here even the Hope Zoo and the beaches. And so Jamaica is not short of nature. We have beautiful nature spaces in Jamaica that we can really incorporate and benefit from, and take advantage of all those benefits. Um, all right, so these are some of the resources that I use, and I do encourage you, if you want to go on here, and there's a YouTube video of some examples. Again, you want to tailor these to your context, because not everything works in every context. So you tailor stuff that works in your context and with your resources. And then this is my contact information. If you have questions after this presentation and you want to send me an email, or shoot me a comment, or ask me for any type of maybe resources, or if you have questions that I can help with, I'll be happy to assist. So that's my contact information. And thank you so much for spending this afternoon with me, and for giving me the extra time. I appreciate you. I know you're all
Dr.
very
Roden, one
busy.
minute. Could you put about the contact information?
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
There it is.
And they also want the picture of the websites as well.
All the references.
Right.
I did send, I can make this slide, if people haven't gotten them yet available. So I'm not sure how you guys do in terms of distribution of like the PowerPoints, but you can get the PowerPoint. I did email them, so I've someone at ECC should have access to the PowerPoint, so we can photocopy and or email it to people who are interested to get more. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So again, thank you so much for taking time. It was a pleasure to be here and to just impart us a little bit of what we can do to help our children and to help ourselves benefit from the nature that is so much all around us. All right. Well, take care, everyone. Thank you. Should I just leave the Zoom now or should I wait or?
No, wait a bit. Is there
Okay.
any questions or are there any questions?
Oh, yes. Any questions or comments? My apologies. Yeah.
Okay, there are no questions or comments. Going once, twice. That's it, Dr. Rhoden. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
We
having
enjoyed
me.
the sessions. Can we have a round of applause, please?
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your PDI.
Okay. Bye. Yes, thank you all for joining with us today. Our session for the afternoon has been cancelled, and so we'll get a early send home. Have yourself a good rest of day. Or you can join another session if you want. Yes, that's another option. Oh, I had a question, I have 2 prizes here I wanted to give away, or 3. So from the mathematics session this morning, who wants to share something that they learned or something that they're taking home, that they plan to do at home or at school?
Okay, from the maths session this morning, I'm a parent here, and my little boy